Hello and what is up, YouTube? My name is G3Iron, and today we are taking a look at 3 different classes for a grand total of 6 different builds that maybe could be some inspiration or some ideas for you to kick around as you are planning your own build for the upcoming Synthesis Flashback League. Now, of course, we already took a look at the Marauder, at the Ranger, and at the Shadow. That was in a previous video. And now today we are taking a look at the Templar, Duelist, and Witch classes, along with an honorable mention from the Scion at the very end of the video. It's a very, very cool, fun build that involves party play, but we'll save that for later on in the video where we discuss that. I was actually surprised out of these 3 different classes and the 6 different builds that I'm suggesting here. The ones that really took me by surprise and excited me were actually from the Duelist, which at first I was like, why would anyone play Duelist? And as we chatted about previously and have been chatting about with every Flashback League, there are random prizes for leveling different characters. And of course, the more people that level characters of a particular ascendancy, the more people that are available to win random drawings. So if you pick a more niche or a less popular ascendancy, it essentially ups your chances of winning a random drawing. So having checked out and scoped out all of the different popular ascendancies from Synthesis League, we definitely come to the conclusion that a lot of the melee classes are, of course, very, very unpopular right now because all the spellcasters got buffed with 3.6. And so it was just a surprise to me what really got me going and made me excited to potentially play a Duelist. So without any further ado, you know the drill here on YouTube. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ding the bell. If at any point in time you want to jump ahead, there are timestamps that are located directly above my slightly balding forehead, and those are hot linked down below in the video description, along with all of the links to all of the builds that we will be referencing here today in the video. A quick disclaimer to get started: we will not be detailing all of the min-max potential of each of these builds. We are just here to highlight a couple of these awesome builds that people have put together that are starter friendly. So there are lots of different ways where you can scale up these builds with currency and with playtime, but right now we are just focusing in on the league starter aspect of these builds and how they can take you from level 1 to whatever goal it is that you've got next, beginning your Flashback Synthesis experience. So first off, our first build that we are taking a look at today is a Templar, and this guy right here is a Glacial Cascade Totems. It clears all content in the game, and it is viable for Uber Elder. This is from Thin. Thin's got some awesome YouTube content and some awesome Twitch content. So of course all of his links and everything are provided for him right in his build guide, so you can go over there, give him a sub, give him a follow. He does great work. A lot of the time, every league he comes out with map strategies and atlas strategies. He does a really great job of doing top-end, high-end content for returning veterans as well as for newer players, which is great. So this particular build, the reason why it caught my eye, as it does every single league, and I feel like every single league I don't do it. Glacial Cascade is a fantastic spell. We right now in 3.6 are living in a world in which basically every spellcaster got a buff. There is not a fresh patch that's coming down for the Flashback Synthesis League, meaning that none of this stuff that got buffed in 3.6 is getting nerfed for Flashback League. It's all still just as strong. And so Glacial Cascade Totems or Traps or Mines are all incredibly strong league starters because they can kill bosses very quick. They're not necessarily the fastest at clearing maps, but they're exceptional as boss killers. So if you want to farm the Uber Lab, if you want to farm a particular endgame boss, whether that's Adziri, whether that's the Shaper, whether that's Uber Elder, whether that's clearing out bosses for your friends or for your guildmates, or simply offering a boss killing service, Glacial Cascade is where it's at. And this particular build is an exceptionally tanky build that also pumps out the DPS and blows things up incredibly quickly. I highly, highly recommend it. I feel like Glacial Cascade Totems are just like the bread and butter of what a ton of top tier players play to league start, and so because it's the bread and butter, sometimes it's not that sexy. I'm just being honest. Like, it's like, oh, Glacial Cascade, yeah, whatever. It might not be sexy, but it's good. It gets the job done. It's a little bit like what Arc was like for a year. It's just really, really strong. No, it's not outside of the box. No, it's not off meta, but it's really, really strong, and it's going to remain that way for the Flashback League. Our second build that we're looking at today, also a Templar, is the Cyclone Summoner. Now, everything that I just said about Glacial Cascade, take everything that I just said and then dump it. Like, dump it, okay? Dump the meta part, dump the, is old reliable and everybody plays it. All of that just is not true for this particular build. This is a Cyclone Summoner. This guy, forgive me if I say your name wrong, but System Player Lost. I'm assuming that's how you're going to pronounce that. I don't think you're probably putting syllables together in the wrong way. But anyway, if I screw up anybody's name, I apologize. System Player Lost has done a great job. He's got several different videos showcasing the build, including a Shaper kill. This is simply a gorgeous build, and I found myself staring just watching his video for a while. So what he does is he combines Herald of Agony along with Herald of Purity, Summon Holy Relic, and then Cyclone. He uses Cyclone to keep up his Virulence stacks to keep his Herald of Agony crawler going. And it's just ridiculous the amount of damage, of course, that all of his minions pump out, and the tankiness. I want to say his character was at like 5.5k life, and he was able to take down the Shaper in the video that I watched. He did a great job of it. Really, really awesome video, and really, really awesome play style. If you enjoy Cyclone, but you don't necessarily have the currency to make Cyclone itself deal damage and clear out your Atlas and clear out bosses, this is a great way to go, because Herald of Agony on its own does a ton of damage. I believe the itemization that he had when he took out Shaper was only on a 5 link. Now, granted, there are going to be some uniques that are going to considerably help your power level for this particular build, but nonetheless, it's a great league starter. Yes, there are best in slot uniques, but there aren't any required uniques to get you going, which is great. So I highly recommend that you at least go check out his videos in his build guide section to take a look. If it doesn't blow your mind and go, wait, a summoner using Cyclone? Like, what? Anyway, it totally blew my mind as somebody that loves playing summoners, and I may actually start with this. I don't know. I thought I had my league starter picked out until I watched this video, and then I was like, maybe I don't. And then I went and saw some Duelist videos, and then I was like, maybe I won't do that. So I've got some decisions to make personally. Speaking of Duelist, let's bring up 2 different Duelist builds. So this right here is the budget Molten tank. It gets up to 7 to 8k HP. It clears all content, and it is uber elder viable. You can play this as a champion, a gladiator, or as a juggernaut if you'd rather go hybrid. For the pick, that is, going hybrid as in Duelist or Marauder. But it's got a lot of flexibility to it. One of the things that I really liked about this particular build is it's very simply tanky across the board, and it doesn't necessarily require a ton of uniques, right? So whenever we're looking for league starters, we're looking for stuff that gets us off the ground, right? That gets us going. We don't necessarily need to find build enabling uniques, and it can allow us to clear the map tier that we're desiring to farm, to either find currency, to find divination cards, to fund another build, or to scale the build up itself. And that's exactly what this particular build does. So one of the challenges of these particular builds that I will say is that oftentimes attack-based builds scale with weapons. Right? We all know this. So here's the trick that you need to do as you're leveling, especially in a fresh economy and a fresh league start. As you are leveling, if you are leveling with an attack-based character like this particular character, this particular build that we're showcasing right here, if you are leveling with Molten Strike, with Reeve, with Cleave, with Sunder, one of the things that you'll want to do is you'll actually want to set up a search on your PoE trade if you're in a trade league. I hear you, those of you that are screaming at me, we're SSF, we don't care, Iron. That's fine. Just take a deep breath for a second. If you are in a trade league, you're going to want to set up a trade search for every 10 levels or so, where you can simply buy a weapon and sort it by physical damage dealt, so the weapons that do the most physical damage, and then buy a weapon upgrade every 10 levels. Yes, it's early on in the league. Yes, you won't have much currency. That's okay. If you're able to push your content and push your build faster, because you are constantly upgrading your weapon and able to clear content instantly with your attacks, that is much, much better than constantly trying to find your own weapon and then slowing down in your content approach. When you look at it this way, if it costs you, let's say, 10 alchemy, let's say every 10 levels, right? That's all the way from level 1 to 100, but let's just say that. Let's say it costs you 10 alchemy because one guy, priced his sword or axe or whatever at like 3 alchemy, whatever. Say it costs you 10 alchemy to get your leveling gear just for your weapons. If that's what it costs you, but you're able to get to maps faster than, let's say, 80 to 90% of the rest of the league that's participating in the flashback, that's fantastic because now you're at maps. And so now you're farming maps. Now you're selling maps to people who are going to eventually come out of the story mode and eventually go in and need those maps for you. But you're building a map pool that's going to sell to everybody. Now you're a seller. Now you're making tons of currency from all these people who are coming to you buying maps, simply because you are willing to put in the time and the effort to spend that 10 alchemy leveling up. So while a lot of people think, oh, we're in a spellcaster meta, it's not necessarily an attack-based meta, that's actually pretty great because it means that weapons that are really, really good and really, really strong for leveling are actually really, really cheap, which means you can level very effectively, very efficiently, very, very quickly if you know what you're doing, especially if you're in a trade league and are able to buy weapon upgrades, because attacks do scale with weapons hard. All right, our second Duelist build is absolutely insane. This is a Champion Ice Spear Totem. Now, what WAG has put up here is that it is a lazy build for depth 1000 in Delve. I personally have never hit Delve depth 1000. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, let's put on the goggles and check this video, check this guide out. And sure enough, he's hit Delve depth 1200 with this sucker. This is absolutely stupid. And this build, it's like, for me, it's between this build and maybe, you know, the Molten tank, and then maybe the Summoner Templar. Like, those are the three, at least in my mind, that I'm juggling around right now. This build is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to quickly explain what he says here, the bread and butter, and why this build. If you want to do all game content with one button, have high ping, don't like to aim, or just feel too lazy to dodge boss attacks, this build is for you. This build lets you throw down 5 to 6 totems. Each can deal 1 million cold DPS and shatter every mob up to a screen away. Enemies are blinded, chilled, frozen, hindered, enfeebled, and taunted by totems. You have 7 to 8k life, fortify, cannot be stunned, and just run around picking up loot. This is absolutely sick. He's got a couple of videos on here that are awesome. He's got an Uber Elder video of him fighting the Uber Elder with this thing, and it's utterly ridiculous. He's just constantly dropping down totems, and Ice Spear is doing all the work. It looks like a howitzer. It looks like he's got a team of howitzers that are just firing massive rounds across the screen. Anyway, it's a really awesome build. Highly recommend you check it out. And I think this may be it. I may be leaning towards this for my league starter. I don't know yet, though. I don't know. That Summoner Cyclone build looks really, really fun as well. So anyway, we'll see what I decide by the time the Flashback League starts next week. All right, moving on to the Witch. We've got 2 different Witch builds for you. First off is an Occultist Bane build, and this is SSF friendly. So those of you that are SSF players can say, "Hey, Iron, thank you so much for putting that up." Anyway, here you go. Couldn't get by without at least mentioning Bane. Bane has been so popular throughout Synthesis League, and of course the Occultist and Trickster have both been very popular playing Chaos Dot builds, and there's nobody better right now, at least from a hardcore perspective, for running Bane than the Occultist. Now, one thing that is going to be very, very tough is there are a couple of different uniques. I believe there's 3 uniques in this particular build that really make it tick. So if you're not able to acquire those uniques, that's rough, but there are some SSF options for you in this particular build. And one of the things that I like that Scarlet Destiny does is he actually shows you, hey, this is how I leveled from level 1 to 24, from level 25 to 50, from level 51 to 80, and then beyond. I really appreciate that in build guides when they walk you step by step. Hey, here's where I got lucky. I got this drop. Hey, here's where I didn't get lucky, so I was making my way with this. Here's how I used my currency to craft me a new piece of gear when I needed it. So I really, really appreciate that level of in-depth detail that builds do, like Scarlet Destiny's Occultist Bane SSF hardcore build right here. Now, those of you that are playing hardcore, I would say if you're playing hardcore, I would give this thing a shot. That being said, if you've been around on the channel at all, you already know that I have died. Like, all of my Synthesis Witches have just died. Everybody that I've tried to go Occultist with this entire hardcore Synthesis League has just died. Act 3 and Act 4 have hated me as a witch this league. I don't know why. That being said, I want to encourage you to try this out. I have yet to try out Bane. It's incredibly expensive in trade leagues, and so I actually think this is a better build for SSF as a league starter than it is for trade leagues, because in trade leagues the uniques that are required are going to be a little bit more expensive just because of how popular Bane is and Chaos stuff is in general. Moving on to our final witch build, we've got the Spider Bros. This was a build that I wanted to showcase way back when we did our playing Summoner in PoE, but I just couldn't fit it in. There were just already too many great builds that we were showing off. And so here's Skyscan showing off the Arakaali's Fang Spider Bros. It is amazing. And as advertised, you can kill everything on a 5x budget. Okay. The only unique that is needed for this entire build, the single unique, is Arakaali's Fang. That's it. As soon as you have that, you are good to go. He's got awesome gameplay footage and gameplay videos that are available on this particular build guide. Highly recommend you check it out. He's got boss kills, as well as he's just got like a general, like I think it's like an hour-long video of just him playing. Just so that way you can see, hey, what does it look like to get into a map, to get out of a map? How much loot do you get? What does it look like just to run around and kill stuff with the setup? There are a couple of uniques that, of course, can buff the build. One of them being Writhing Jar, actually, for it's not a Worm Blaster build. This is not a meme. But nonetheless, it takes advantage of the Writhing Jar to get spiders going and clearing the map to get itself started. So it's definitely a fun build. It definitely scales up with currency as you invest in it, which is a hallmark of a good league starter, that you can start with very with nothing and then scale it up with very little currency and then continue to scale it as you continue to accumulate even more currency. I love his tagline here on Skyscan's build, like SRS but better. So those of you that have been around PoE long enough and you remember when SRS was great and all you used to play was SRS, well, this has a very similar vibe to it. All right, our honorable mention today for the Scion is the Living Saint. This is the tanky Orobot League starter from Karunga. You have seen me feature this before in our playing support in Path of Exile build. I simply love this build because first off, Karunga does a great job being humorous in everything that he writes. He says, forget the power of loot trade and PoE trade, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of Atlas progress and Challenge League rewards, for in the grim dark months ahead, there is only the grind. There is no peace amongst the price fixer, only an eternity of 820 spamming and carnage and the laughter of Chris Wilson. Anyway, Karunga's great. I love this build. So some pros and cons to it. Those of you that have been asking for Scion builds and those of you that have been wondering about, hey, how do I level with an Orobot? Or hey, how do I play in party play as a group? This is one of the ways to do it, is to follow Karunga's build. So some pros. It's a great league starter if you play with your friends. You can start with minimal investment and then support all endgame characters. It purges the Atlas from Xenos for the glory of the Empire. Doesn't give a damn about physical damage, which is great. It's very tanky. And then, of course, it's right-handed. Woohoo! So, all that being said, the playstyle's not for everybody. These are some of the cons, right? Because it's a support character. Not everybody likes leveling and playing a support. It is vulnerable to elemental damage during the start of mapping. It is not fun to level solo as this build. So, those of you that say, Iron, I started leveling an Orobot and it wasn't fun and it ruined my league start, you have no excuse. Don't say, oh, Iron, why didn't you tell me that it wasn't fun to level solo? It's an Orobot. It's built for party play. If you level an Orobot solo on your own without a level guide to swap from leveling to aura supporting, that's on you. That's not on me. That's not on the channel. It's not on us as a community. We've all warned you, okay? Do not level solo as an Orobot unless you want to have a bad time. There are several guides, Karunga is one of them, that at least include a section that say, hey, if you're leveling alone, here's a passive tree that you could follow to level alone, and then you can swap to your endgame passive tree. That being said, that's generally a little bit more expensive to do, and so I don't recommend people do it as a league starter. If you are getting together with your guild or with your friends to Flashback League Start, I would highly recommend that you do that if you are planning on playing this build, that you find a group to play with. If you don't have a group to play with, you can, of course, join the G3 guild. We've still got a couple of slots left, I think. I think we've got a couple of slots left. Or even if you don't want to join the guild, you can just hit us up on Discord. There will be a Discord link to join down below in the video description. So if you're looking for more players to play that are positive gamers, that are always looking to improve their playstyle and learn as well as be taught, you can join us on Discord there. Well, thanks so much for everybody for watching. A couple of questions for you as we wrap up and get even more excited with just a couple of days away from Flashback Synthesis starting. What builds look fun as a starter for you? I am enthralled with that Templar Summoner and then with the Duelist Totem Ice Spirit. Like, that is just awesome. First off, as a champion, you just, like he says, you have Fortify, and then you've got all of these totems that are taunting, so nothing ever wants to attack you, and you just blow everything up. I think that's really cool. Also, second question, why will you swap starters or stick with your synthesis starter? So what was your synthesis starter, and then what is it that you are going to be using for your flashback synthesis starter? Are you going to be swapping or sticking with it? And then what tips do you have for other new players on their second or third league start? So there's a lot of players that have joined the community or that have joined the channel over the last several months and several leagues, and a lot of players have just started playing Path of Exile on the PlayStation 4. So lots of people are looking for fresh league start tips, and some players are just looking for improvement in their time because they're not necessarily going to play Flashback for a whole long time, but maybe they'll use it kind of as a trial run before 3.7 drops as another fresh league economy and a fresh way to start their character. So feel free to share your tips down below in the comments for other new players to benefit from. I always love the discussions that we have here on the G3 channel. We have a lot of great community members that contribute their comments, their tips, and their suggestions, and I've learned a bunch from you guys commenting on these different videos as we have discussions on how to improve builds, how to pick builds, how to improve gameplay in general, how to interact and overview of the economy and use the different mechanics that are available in Path of Exile. So I really appreciate all of the discussion that we get to participate in here in the G3 community. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that today is the day a Mirror of Calandra drops for you right after you get done watching this video.
Nice patrons, yes, good patrons. They're so kind and supportive.
I can't believe you watched that thing. That was good job. You did it. You got through the whole video. Yay.